Hey guys, you were listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus. I'm here with my dad, Erwin. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We finally have a little bit of sun in Los Angeles, which feels nice.
Well, we had a little bit of sun for a 5-minute window, and it's back to dreary.
Is it back to dreary? Back to gloomy?
Gloomy for the whole week.
No.
We're in June gloom. We're in June gloom for the whole month of June.
No, I rebuke that. I send that back. to the maker. That is not what I want.
They're gonna have to reduce our taxes here in LA because we get taxed for the sunshine, and it's been a long, long time.
I don't even want to go to. I don't want to go political anymore. Like that's not even. I remember we were so political last year during.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking political. I was thinking environmental.
Right. Well, we have a couple things to talk about. We're gonna finish. This is part 2 to last week's episode, or I guess 2 weeks ago. It'll be 2 weeks ago's episode. And this last week we had Joe Smith on the pod, which is amazing. And I'm wearing the same thing I wore the week before, but I got a new hat on. This is a great young designer out of Los Angeles. Has a brand called Castles and Queens. Really great guy. Had coffee with him last week. So I'm repping the hat.
All right.
We need Battle Ready merch though.
We do. It's been a while.
It's been a while. We're taking it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take some time. We're gonna get this thing done. Okay, so should we talk about all the things we've been doing real quick?
Sure. That'd be great.
So first things first, you can go and download our free mini course.
Oh, the Communicator's Toolkit.
Basically, it's free stuff, and it's 1.5 hours of kind of a sneak peek into different moments of the art of communication. Really amazing. We've had, I want to say, probably close to 2,500 downloads over the last few days.
Higher. 26, 27, 28.
I don't know, but a lot. We've had a lot. So go and check that out. Go and download it. We're preparing for an exciting summer of new projects, which is amazing. And the art of communication is something that is super dear to us, very dear to us, as we're going to build out essentially an entire community for communicators with the art of communication. You want to talk to us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting. I mean, we really launched a whole new arena for us in the art of communication. We put out the master class, and the response was just so positive. And then we did a surprise 10-week live Q&A with everyone who signed up.
Right.
So the value of it went up 1,000x. And for me, what was so exciting was getting to interact with people, getting to answer their questions, and watching people begin to have chemistry and dynamic with each other. And it's almost as if we offered one product, one environment, and realized that's great, but this is the magic.
Yeah.
It's people coming together. It's people being in community. And I miss that group after the 10
I know.
weeks.
We got to get them back together.
I mean, I miss seeing their faces. I miss having conversations with them. I miss the growth and development that we got to see in their lives. And so we're going to create a communicators community. And it really is for people who want to hone their skills and become better communicators. It could be because you're a speaker. It could be because you're a pastor. It could be because you're in sales. Or could be just because you're a human who wants to become a better communicator with your friends, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers. Because communication is the most human thing. It connects us all. And so I'm very, very excited about it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So really what it is we're taking the art of communication is Aaron. The art of communication community is Mariah. The first kid was an accident. You didn't really know what to do with him. We found some really magical moments. He grew up. But the second child, which is this community, I think is going to be really special. So this is a place where you can come and get like live interaction with other communicators, whether it be pastors, salespeople, doctors, teachers, whatever it may be, normal humans who are just going, I want to practice my communication on a daily basis. It's where we're going to release weekly tools, have monthly calls, have weekly coaching sessions, and we're going to get people into the arena where we're breaking down their talks week in and week out. There is nothing like this in the world.
No, this is going to be what they would call like a blue ocean. It has not been touched.
We're really going to build the greatest community for communicators, I think, in the world ever. And the most exciting part, I think, is that we are building a summit in October where we are going to have we're going to have Lewis Howe, we're going to have Jamie Lima, and we're going to have, who's the fourth?
John Gordon.
John Gordon.
Yeah.
Think positive. He just has a new book coming out called The One Truth, right?
Yep. And no, I'm excited.
So wait, the summit, it gets you, when you get into the art of communication, when you buy into the art of communication community, You'll get all the access to all the videos that we've done for the Art of Communication. We're going to be uploading your newest material to the Art of Communication. So probably things like the character matrix that you're walking the your mastermind through, and this new content that you have been developing, the 7 frequencies. We're going to do a lot of sessions on that. But then you get weekly, monthly calls and access to a community of other guys who are going to be like, one of the ideas that we've had is on Sunday nights, we're going to have a Zoom session where we talk to pastors and go, how did it go?
Yeah.
Like walk through the things that went well, walk through the things that didn't went well. Because one of the things that we find is that we're lucky we have Mosaic guys, the guys who talk, and we get on text and we get on Slack and we have a community. But guys around the world don't have that. Men and women around the world don't have access to a community like that. So we kind of wanted to give people access to that as well. But then we've also asked really good friends who are in the sales space and who are in tech and who are in the business space to also interact in the community as well. Yeah. And we've kind of preloaded it with people who want access to this and who are going to be contributors on every level. So it doesn't matter what kind of communication you do, this is going to be a place for you, which I'm really excited about. And it's going to be, we're going to announce the price closer to August because we're going to launch right before the Global Leadership Summit in August in Chicago. I'm really excited about it.
And so if you're a part of the Communicators community, what do you get when you come to the conference?
What do you get when you come to our summit?
Yeah, our summit.
Our Communicator Summit?
Yeah.
What do you get? We're going to get access to a dinner the night before.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to sell VIP tickets. Your mastermind's going to be there. And then we're going to allow people from the communication community to come to this dinner. And we're not quite sure what it's going to look like. It'll probably be something amazing. We're not really fancy dinner people. We're like Korean barbecue tacos and like fruit stand. Like the best thing about your mastermind was it was all amazing food, like good food and no stuffiness, no pretending. But it's going to be here in Hollywood.
So the dates will be October 5th through 7th, right
yes.
there. Block off those dates.
Yes. Yeah. And then access to the summit. How you get access to the summit. We're gonna release that in another podcast, but we're really excited. We have an amazing fall coming up. And not to speak about, not to get too into it. We always like talking about our projects because I think one thing, it gives us content for life. But you have a new book coming out called Mind Shift, and I have it right here. I have the galley right here. So it's not quite the full faced cover. It says literally advanced uncorrected proofs.
Yep.
The subtitle is, it doesn't take a genius to think like one. You want to do the pre-order?
Oh, well, we already have people who have gone to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, gone to one of the sites online and pre-ordered the book. And when you pre-order the book, you're really helping get the message of the book out. So you're not only buying a book and helping yourself, but you're also helping me, and you're helping the book get the message, this message out to everyone. So I'm really excited. So if you've already pre-ordered, I want to say thank you. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, pre-order right now. And just go ahead, do it, click the link and pick up the book. It'll get shipped to you right on October 3rd.
It'll probably get there earlier. Usually Amazon, if you do Amazon or Barnes & Noble, if you do it pre-order, they'll ship it the week that it lands. Yep. You get it like a day early or the day of.
Now, there are people who've been pre-ordering who've asked me, can they be part of a launch team? I'm not sure what we're doing with that.
Yes, well, we're finishing up the website right now for a launch team. And for the access to the summit, and there's a bunch of incentives. So you can buy, a few books, you can buy a box of books, you can buy 10 boxes of books and be a part of the pre-launch team, which is really exciting. So Austin's heading that up, and we'll have news for that soon. So should we dive back into the podcast?
All right, let's go.
This is part 2 to how to become wise. And this really we picked up at, if you haven't watched the last episode, this episode you can listen to on its own, but we're going to be referring to a few things in the last episode. But basically, I took a bunch of notes during one of my dad's sessions at our mastermind, which, can you explain what a mastermind is and what we're doing and how what we're doing is very different than what other people do?
Yeah, masterminds have become a really popular way of investing in people. And usually masterminds are focused on a specific arena of business development.
Okay.
And so I have a friend who has a mastermind. Every individual in that mastermind pays $100,000, and they're mostly in the entrepreneurial investment space.
Okay.
And so they come together and they do, partnerships, collaborations. They present different startups that they're investing in, and people decide to invest together. So it's almost like an investor's mastermind.
Okay.
Another one with everyone pays $60,000. I mean, this one, it might be 300-400 people in it, and it focuses on real estate.
Okay.
Other masterminds might focus on tech.
Okay.
Other masterminds might
Don't
focus
gatekeep. Tell the people who these people are.
how to market and sales. Well, no, like Ken Clothier to me has a fantastic mastermind.
Real estate, right.
Real estate. And
yes. Jimmy Rex is a great mastermind.
Jimmy Rex has a mastermind in Utah. And I think he actually began real estate as well, but it's now gone very much broader. Our friend Joel Marion has a mastermind called the 100 Million Mastermind, and it's for companies that have scaled usually to 100 million. And everyone on the platform usually who speaks has a company of at least 100 million. And they focus people on investments and teach people all about scaling and marketing and everything you want to know about how to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so part of what I began to discover, and it was really not something I initiated on my own. I had these people leading masterminds coming to me and saying, you need to lead a mastermind. Mm-hmm. And like Dan Fleshman and like Jimmy Rex and like Joel Marion. And in fact, the first person to sign up for my mastermind was Ken Clothier. So here he has a mastermind where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people pay him $60,000 a year to be part of his. And he was the first one to join mine. And my mastermind was just very, very...
so your mastermind is for the masterminds?
It is. My mastermind is for people who lead masterminds.
Okay.
My mastermind is for people who lead companies, who lead organizations, who are top tier business leaders, entrepreneurs, and it's completely focused on their inner world. Mm-hmm. And so it's expensive in terms of some people, but it's really inexpensive in relationship to other people.
Right. If you're looking at the scale in the business world, this is actually a fairly priced mastermind.
Yeah. So my mastermind is $30,000. And I started, and that sounds crazy, but at a very low entry cost. Right. But it was also so that these highly driven type A personalities could have a safe space with other like-minded, like-spirited people to deal with the mess of their life and to grow as human beings. And basically said, look, you guys are going to build skyscrapers, but you may not take the time to build foundations. And so I want to help you make sure that your foundation is deeper than your skyscraper is higher. And that's been a really exciting kind of journey. And so one of the things I really love about how our masterminds have started is that they're so diverse. And, frankly, a lot of masterminds I go to are culturally very, very singular. And here, we're already incredibly ethnically diverse. We invited people from Mexico, Ecuador, Malaysia, one guy from Australia. We have people from all over the United States, maybe even Canada. And it's just
Canada's still a country.
Well, I think recently they asked permission from Great Britain to be their own country. And it's just really beautiful to have these guys. And right now my mastermind's only for men. I just this past week had a woman who started a company and she scaled it and sold it for over $1 billion. Asked me, could she join the mastermind? And I had to tell her right now, I don't have a mastermind that's male, female, or couples or men and women. Right now I just have a guys group. Okay. And so I said, so when we start one that's more, that's mixed, I'll let you know. But I thought it was amazing that she was texting me, asking me
that's awesome.
If she could join.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think you really, and you really stripped away this idea of mastermind. And we still call it that, but it's not really that. You really heavily focus. A lot of these masterminds are amazing, but they're really niche. It's like how to scale a company, how to exit a company, how to take in a $10 to $50 million investment. Yeah. We'll go to these sessions and it's like a 50-minute PowerPoint presentation on how to take an exit from someone who's fascinating and has done it multiple times, like a guy like Bobby Castro who's done it. And it's interesting, but it's not necessarily what you focus on. You focus on how to genuinely, if you could talk about, you want to talk in business terms, you talk about how to scale character inside of yourself.
If I could be kitschy, this mastermind is actually about getting inside of the mind of the master. Right. Because I told everyone, hey, this is going to be really, really spiritual. Yeah. The wisdom and truths I've received have been from following Jesus and from diving deep into the Bible. And what's interesting is I had several guys who joined who don't believe in God. And so I wanted to make sure they didn't feel like, oh, wait a minute, I thought this was going to be different. I said, hey, I want you to know this is going to be like
It is different.
Yeah,
it's super different.
Yes, it's going to be deeply spiritual. And they go, no, that's what we want. That's what we want. We're looking for that.
Yeah.
And then, well, some people even from like other religions, and it's come together in the most beautiful way.
It was really cool. And you took 20, 30 minutes in the morning and spent time on a scripture and a devotional. And it was really unique because one, that's not really a space I get to see you speaking to thousands of people, but it's very different when you're speaking to thousands of people than when you're speaking to 10, 20, 30, 40 people in a room. And so, one of the things that one of the guys said is like, if you can't write the check, you shouldn't be in the mastermind. It's not for people aspiring to write that check. It's for people who are genuinely in a place that are going, I need mentorship. I need peers who are in a high level and in a similar level to me. And I want to access them and build into them.
Yeah, and I know sometimes people will ask me, well, wait a minute, why do you create this exclusive space? And I think it's a really important thing that when you think about if you're coaching NBA basketball players, if you're coaching, let's say Kobe, and then you have guys who just played high school basketball,
like Aaron,
and now they're just playing pickup games.
Yeah,
you can't coach Kobe and that guy in the same space.
No, you cannot.
And in fact, what you end up doing is you end up coaching the guy who's playing street ball, which makes it a loss of value for Kobe, who's really at an elite level.
Right.
And you have to create spaces where people who are really committed at an elite level can keep growing, or they're always feeling that they have to just sort of slip back to a level of mediocrity for them that isn't acceptable. And this is even true in terms of their own spirituality. There's a lot of people who are just happy, let's say, going to church. That's like, for them, their optimal performance, and you're spending your life trying to encourage them to step deeper into their spirituality, into their faith. And then there's other people who are, they're like Navy SEALs. They're ready to give their life completely, to follow Jesus with 100% passion and intention, and to live a life that really reflects the presence and power of who God is. And most of those people feel like they're always having to swim in mediocrity. And one of the beautiful things about, let's say, the church is that the church is for everyone.
It really is.
And one of the challenges in the church is that when the church is for everyone, it moves to the lowest common denominator. And so then people who really want to live at a higher level never have a place for them. And so then you add the business environment to this. It's not an accident when people scale a company to 10 million or 50 million or 100 million or half a billion or further. There are certain choices those people have made that other people chose not to make. It's not even a right or wrong. They're just living in a different mental space, a different mental framework. And I wanted to make sure that those kinds of people had a place to really grow in their faith and to be challenged at a really high level. And so we're doing two different masterminds right now, and the two groups were in a very different place. One group was really open and teachable, and they were like a mastermind leader's dream,
right?
Because they just came ready to absorb, And then I had another group where it was more challenging, it was more difficult, and in fact, one of them on our group chat after our 2-day experience said, "I have a new name for our group. It's the League of Unteachable Gentlemen."
I'm in that group chat, and I literally screenshotted it and sent it to you and just started laughing.
But what's fascinating is that, yes, with the first group, I think I was able to use a paintbrush. And with the second group, I had to use a chisel. They're both art forms.
Right.
One's a painting, one's a sculpture.
Flows naturally. The other one is pure destruction.
and there definitely had to be some pounding just to find the beauty in that space. But I think it's wonderful, as I was just talking to one of the guys at that mastermind who openly said to me, "Hey, I've already made all the money, I need to make, and I'm already living the life, of my dreams. I just want to grow as a spiritual human being,
right?
And in an environment that can help me grow."
Yeah.
And he told me, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
He goes, I just thought the whole 2 days was wonderful.
Yeah.
And because he's never been in an environment like that, so he didn't think it was hard.
Right.
He didn't even think it was resistant. He thought conflict was good.
It's a really interesting case study, and I and we've been talking about this for a little bit now, so we can change subjects soon. But really, one, if you're out there and you're a business leader or you're in this space and you're going, hey, I need a community like this, reach out to us. Yep. And just DM us, Mastermind, and the price is $30K. It's probably going to go up to $40K because we're running out of room.
And because it costs so much to run it.
Yeah, that's one thing we realized. We did food and hang, and it was expensive.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd have the thought, oh my goodness, if I keep doing this, I'm going to go broke.
But yeah. So if you do it this month, it'll be 30. If you do it next month, it'll be 40. Just so you know. Yeah. But if you want to be a part of this community, DM you or DM me, Mastermind, and reach out to us, and we'll have a conversation.
And if you want to be in a community, and this Mastermind is
far too expensive,
right? Get ready for the Communicators community, because we're going to create a space for you that's going to be far more accessible.
Yeah, and if you buy. We're gonna figure this out, because me and Austin have been working on this sales page for the last week or so, 2 weeks, and we'll launch this community kind of privately through Battle Ready and through our Patreon and through kind of our different spaces. But yeah, no, because we're not gonna launch until August, but we want people to be able to get access to it when they hear about this. So reach out to us, let us know you're interested in the Communicators community, and it'll be much less. So
and I want to remind everyone that if none of these spaces are right for you, because right now you're really struggling, or this isn't just the right kind of financial space for you, come to Mosaic, access all of our
listen
messages.
to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast.
Go to YouTube, go to Mosaic, listen to your messages for free. Like, we give so much content out for free because we want you to grow.
Yeah, 90% of everything we do is free.
Yes.
We're only creating the 10% now for those who are needing unique spaces and are ready to grow at a different level, a different scale, different speed.
But I think that's really influenced how we're treating this community as well, because we've made a shift. And one guy on YouTube kind of came at us a little bit on 2 podcasts ago and said, this is a lot of new age thinking for a Christian podcast. And, it was interesting to me because it's 99% positive. We get so many amazing comments on YouTube. The channel's grown like a few thousand in the last couple of months. That's shout out to Austin St. John and his team.
You didn't tell me we got that critique.
I just found out this morning.
Oh, okay.
And I responded to him and said, you're right. We are very new age in that we are always thinking of the new things and hoping to be inspired and understand things in a new way. We were never being limited by the way that the past thought about things, which is a very you answer.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. I didn't know this was a Christian podcast.
Well, me neither. But I guess this podcast gave his life to Jesus in 2017, and we didn't know.
But Battle Ready, you need to redirect your life because you're clearly not doing it right.
Yeah.
But here's the problem: is that Christians sometimes, some Christians, let me say this right, some Christians need things to always fit the way things were done for it to feel right.
Right.
We're creating a space for an entirely new era of followers of Jesus, where they do not want things to be irrelevant to the world in which they live. They want to learn how to translate their faith into the real world. And I'm always going to be a follower of Jesus. Everything I do is informed by Jesus. My thinking is informed by the scriptures. I don't need to put a Bible verse on my t-shirt or on the podcast for it to be fueled and informed by faith.
Okay, with that said, let's jump into it. So if you want to become, so this is something you said. You said, if you want to become wise, become faithful. And now that we're a few weeks out from this mastermind, I might have to dig deep into my memory and figure out what context you were talking about this with. But if you said the statement, if you want to become wise, become faithful.
If you want to become wise, become faithful. Sometimes what we want is the end game, and we're resistant to the starting point. Wisdom is something I think everyone would want, but very few people really want to take on the practice of being faithful every single day. I've been thinking a lot this week about wisdom, and one of the images that came to my mind is when you live a wise life, your life is completely in the light. And when you're living the life of a fool, your life is completely into darkness. And faithfulness is doing the small things in the dark, but choosing the light. Faithfulness is what you do when no one's watching. Faithfulness is what you do when no one's forcing you to do something. Faithfulness is who you are in secret. And as you are faithful in the small things, and it can apply both to character and to craft. When you're faithful in your craft, you're faithful to the details. And if you're sewing something, you're faithful to every thread. If you're making a film, you're faithful to every frame. If you're building a company, you're faithful to the details of making the company great. But when it comes to your character, it's faithful in the small things. And I've thought about this so much that the first phase of faithfulness that leads to wisdom is me telling myself the truth. It's me making commitments to myself and keeping them. It's me not saying I want to be someone and doing the opposite, but doing the things that say to me who I really want to become. And you ever made a commitment to someone, but you already knew you weren't going to keep it?
I don't know if I go in like that. I don't premeditate my lies or my flakiness. My flakiness is in the moment.
Well, here's the thing is that when you tell someone else something, they might believe you for a moment if it's not true. But wait.
Okay, go.
But when you tell yourself it, your soul knows you're lying to yourself instantly.
I mean, I think there's a huge importance in the commitments we make to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? And the commitments you keep to yourself. I have made the commitment to be less flaky. I'm a pretty flaky person. I don't enjoy hanging out with other people. I love when I'm there. I don't enjoy the act of going there and waiting and then being like, well, am I going to enjoy this or is this going to be awful? You know, and I was reading a book this week. I've been reading the 5 Tools by Philip Stutz, and I think it's Michael Baker. These 2 psychotherapists, and he has a documentary on Netflix called Stutz. I told you to watch it.
I love it. So good. Yeah.
So good. And he really has a lot to say about faith, which is interesting because he grew up an atheist. He has 2 parents who are atheists, and he's now in his 70s. And he talks about how in opening the first 20 pages of his books talk about how like you have to identify the greater force, the higher force. He calls it the higher force. And he's like, this idea of faith, the faith of the things that you cannot explain. And it's really interesting, you know, because you look back in the Bible, and maybe this is like Paul talking about the unknown God, this unknown force that you're trying to define and describe. And he doesn't try to define it, but he just says, use it. Use it to your advantage. But one of those things is making commitments with yourself, getting outside of your comfort zone. He talks a lot about getting outside of your comfort zone. He's like, can you identify the things that will pull you out of your comfort zone and not be afraid of them?
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to being faithful and becoming wise and being faithful in little things, being faithful in little things really is part of that requirement is making those commitments to yourself and keeping them. You know, hey, I'm going to wake up this morning, I'm going to go on a run. Okay, amazing. I'm going to wake up this morning, I'm going to go on a workout. I'm going to wake up this morning, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to wake up and look at my bank account and pay the bill. You know, I hate that one. It doesn't matter how successful we get. I hate that one. And then I like get hit on TikTok by like, you want to be rich? Look at your bank account every day and solve that problem. And I'm like, I don't want to. Why don't I just keep solving problems and hope that one goes away? But how important is keeping the commitment to yourself?
I think keeping commitments to yourself may foundationally be the most important thing to create a life that you do not regret. Because when I look back, like it's why everybody jokes about New Year's resolutions. People make all these resolutions, but they're not even postured to keep a commitment to themselves. And so instead of saying I'm going to lose, and sometimes the problem is the commitment's about goals and not processes. If you say I'm going to lose 20 pounds, that's an unlikely commitment. If you say I'm going to get into the gym 3 times a week, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, that's more concrete. If you want to change, make commitments to the process, not to the outcome. And you know, what does it mean when you say I'm going to increase my IQ by 10 points? You know,
I don't know.
But if you say I'm going to read 10 pages every day.
Yeah.
And so when you make a commitment to the process, you get the outcome. When you make a commitment to the outcome, you usually never begin the process.
You know what I love about this season of your life is you're the most practical I've ever heard you. You are giving people real things and real tools and real handlebars to grab onto. So we started with, if you want to become wise, become faithful. But the kind of the shadow side of this, and sorry for using shadow side, the super new agey language. Ooh, magic. You know what's crazy is the Bible is one of the most new agey books I've ever read in my life. I read other stuff being like, oh, this isn't nearly as insane as that one time where the Witch of Endor killed freaking what's his name?
You're still hung up on the Witch of Endor.
Lawrence Fudge messed me up, man. Lawrence Fudge took me to lunch and said, ask me any crazy things about the Bible. Or no, someone asked him. I think Luke asked him.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Grigio asked him. Like one of the youngest guys on our team asked him like, hey, Lawrence, what's the weirdest part of the Bible? And he goes, the Witch of Endor. And Google it. If you haven't read about it, Google it. This is the shadow side of how to become wise. If you want to become wise, become faithful. The destruction to wisdom is personal, immediate pleasure. Can you open up about that?
Yeah, I think in our last conversation, I said the destruction of wisdom is immediate, temporary pleasure. And maybe this is me looking back on life, but I think I knew that even in my teens and 20s. And it's probably why I made a lot of choices that led me away from a self-destructive life, is that I watched people make choices in a moment that ruined their lives for decades, sometimes permanently. And I remember looking back even in college. I had one particular day, and I'm not going to go into the details, but I made one really bad choice that led to a second really bad choice, that led to a third really bad choice. And the next day, I thought to myself, I never want to feel this way ever again. Mm-hmm. And I can say never again did I ever make any of those choices. Mm-hmm. Because I realized that temporary pleasure is just that. It's temporary. And the aftershock of temporary pleasure is guilt, shame, damage, brokenness, psychological, disrepair, and it isn't worth it. Mm-hmm. And so somewhere around the age of 19, I think I had my last moment where I allowed temporary pleasure to steal from me something that I thought was of value. Mm-hmm. But I also saw it when I was younger.
Wait, what year?
19 years old.
So this is a while ago.
Long time ago. And I still remember because I made the choice. And I think sometimes we don't make the conscious choices that we need to redirect our lives. Mm-hmm. And I think for so many of us, if we could take one moment back, we would take it back and go, my entire life dominoed in a negative direction. Positive momentum takes conscious choice. And negative momentum takes apathy, where you don't choose. So in a sense, when you think you're not choosing, you're choosing negative momentum. Mm-hmm. Positive momentum always takes conscious choice. Mm-hmm. Negative momentum happens from unconscious choice because you're not saying yes to the right thing. Mm. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
And so what happens is that faithfulness produces a characteristic in us. It's called perseverance. Faithfulness produces resilience. It produces endurance. It produces patience. So faithfulness teaches you to say no to temporary pleasure. Mm-hmm. And it builds an internal muscle. In fact, that's what James actually tells us in the scriptures, that it says, do not consider it, he says, consider it all joy when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Mm. Perseverance must finish its work in you, that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So he's actually telling us there's a process here. Mm. When you're going through hardship, when you're going through trials, when you're going through testing, that you should actually celebrate that, because it means that you're in a furnace that's shaping your inner world. And that testing produces perseverance, and that perseverance is going to move you toward fullness, wholeness, and maturity. Mm. Without perseverance, you will never be whole. You'll never be mature, and you're actually never going to be fulfilled because you will keep making choices that steal your future for your present.
Okay, so you know how in all of the Marvel movies, one, there's too many Marvel movies. movies. No more Marvel. Let's take a break. Marvel needs to take a break.
No more bad Marvel movies.
Let's just, you know what? Sometimes when you only eat chocolate and you're like, no more chocolate. I need to eat like, I don't know, mint chip.
Right.
We're in one of those seasons. No more Marvel. Chill out of Marvel. Unless you like are Kevin Feige and you want to donate to Mosaic or something like that. Or build schools in Africa with my mom. Then you can make all the Marvel in the world. No. So, in Spider-Man, there's Tom Holland has his best friend, Ned.
Mm-hmm.
So you're Spider-Man, right? Like you have the superpowers. You can swing from tall buildings. You have the super strength, all the things,
Yeah.
I'm Ned. My man, I'm Ned. I'm the normal man. So talk to me.
Yeah, but you know who Ned becomes, right?
Who does Ned become?
He becomes the greatest nemesis of Spider-Man.
Does he? I'm not trying to be your enemy, so let's not go there. You're taking it down a dark road. I want to be friends. I'm good Ned. I'm good Ned, but good Ned who did some bad things. How do you pick up when you've fallen down? How do you pick yourself up when you've fallen down, right? You've made a ton of bad choices, or maybe just made a few bad choices, and one thing I really, really detest about the Christian culture and the community in which, we're a part of, not Mosaic, but I think the greater Christian culture is that we really, really, really build a shame and guilting culture. So it's hard to pick yourself back up because you're worried more about what other people think versus what actually God thinks of you, right? But if you take that out, if you go, how do you actually get back up? And then how do you maybe have a few things that you can grasp onto to help yourself make good choices, right? Because every time I make choices by myself, not every time, but most of the time my bad choices are made in solitude. Right. Sometimes there's some friends, you make them with, and then you're like, I gotta get rid of those friends and find some friends that bring me into good spaces. Right. I lost a few friends recently, but I feel happy because I'm actually healthier without them. Right. I'm a little more lonely without them, but I'm also healthier without them. It doesn't mean I don't want to still be friends. I just had to redefine what that friendship looked like on a day-to-day basis. How can you give the Neds of the world, which I think is the rest of us, how do you build that superpower of going? How do you have that internal fortitude to make one mistake and go, you know what, that was that one mistake, I'm going to move on?
All right. You're not going to like what I'm going to say.
No, I probably not. Probably not.
Ned has an easier journey than Peter.
Yeah.
Because once you know your power, you're more tempted to neglect your character. And Ned and Peter have the same challenge. How do you become a good person, whether you feel powerless or powerful? And so I would say if you feel like you're Ned, it's hard to move to humility when you're actually drowning in your weakness. And Ned needs to realize that he doesn't have to be Spider-Man to have power. Yeah, because he has the power to do good. And Ned's future story becomes a dilemma because Ned would rather feel powerful than be good.
Right. But taking that away, right?
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, how does the normal person, I love what you're saying. I'm just saying, how does the normal person just make better decisions?
Never think that you're powerless. That's my first point.
Okay.
Is that you always have power to choose.
Okay.
The way you make your best decisions is realize your superpower is your choosing. And when you refuse to relinquish your responsibility to choose, you become the most powerful expression of yourself. And if you can get to the place in your life where your environment, your circumstances, the external factors have zero effect on how you make your choices, you have a superpower. The problem when we're in solitude is not that we're alone. It's that we are making decisions based on the external factors that are shaping us. And so you're making those terrible decisions when you're alone because you don't have people telling you you're better than this moment. And it's almost like they have to speak into your inner world so that you can actually be stronger than your external world. But I do like what you said. When you're not making good choices, make sure you surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important, is that solitude is not the answer. It's making sure that you're surrounded by the kind of people you want to become like. And I was literally in a conversation with a friend of mine, John Gordon, just yesterday or
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Sunday night.
And we were both talking about how when we both become aware that we're missing a certain ingredient that we need, we kind of borrow it from someone else. We get around someone who has that in their personality or in their character or in their talent or their toolkit, and we just borrow it from them. You know? And it's the same way with character. Until your character is strong enough to affect other people positively, only be around people who can affect your character positively. And until your internal world is strong enough, you need to protect your external environment so that it's always being informed with the good. And that's the best way to protect yourself from making bad decisions. And it's realizing, I'm about to make a bad decision because these external forces are stronger than my internal force. And you're making a bad decision when the external forces are stronger than your internal forces. One of the things that actually led me to believe in God. And it's funny because I entrusted my life to Jesus, gave my life to Jesus, but I still had to grow in believing in God. And one of the things that actually helped me believe in God was I actually wanted to be good regardless of anyone else. And I thought, wow, what happened? Like, when you realize, when I'm all by myself, I actually want to be the best version of me. That's when you start going, there's a greater force involved in my life than just me. Yeah,
it's amazing. I love it. Okay. I'm really excited.
All right. Next week,
we're going to talk about how to build that internal voice.
All right. I expect you to lead the conversation and teach us how.
No, I'm the question guy here. Know your role. Stay in your lane, sir. Stay in your lane. No, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We are so grateful. If you haven't taken a moment, we want you to check out the new book called Mind Shift. You can pre-order it now on erwinmcmanus.com. It'll give you all the prompts to go and buy the books wherever you feel most natural buying the books. But go and do that now, erwinmcmanus.com. Check out the new book, Mind Shift. It doesn't take a genius to think like one. It's an absolute honor again to do this podcast with you. But more than anything, it's amazing that we get to have all these people that listen to us, engage with us, like, comment, subscribe. And so if you're listening to it on Apple, leave us a comment, rate and review it. If you're on Spotify, you can give us a star or give us 5 stars. Don't give us a star. Give us none. No, give 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars only.
Or silence.
That might be the next T-shirt I put out. It's Battle Ready 5 stars only. But wherever you listen to, you check out the YouTube. It's under youtube.com or erwinmcmanus.com/YouTube. Battle Ready all lives there. It's really exciting, and I'm really excited to get into these mastermind situations, get into this community with Art of Communication, and to release Ghost Artifacts very soon. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Shout out to Glenn for the swag.
Shout out to Glenn and Jerry.
Jerry,
where my hoodie at, Jerry? No, this is awesome. That was one of the most incredible shows I've ever been to. It was so fun to see Jerry Lorenzo do his thing at the Fear of God show and Hollywood Bowl. And shout out to him. We love you guys. All right. Have a great week. Check us out. We'll see you next week. Bye.